Captain Alina Blackwood stood at the helm of the UES Thunderbolt, her eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that loomed before them. The ship's sleek, crystalline structure defied human engineering principles, its surface rippling with patterns of light that seemed to pulse like a living organism. This was humanity's first official diplomatic contact with the Voidborn Empire, and everything had to go perfectly. "Status report," Alina commanded, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. Lieutenant James Harrison, her tactical officer, responded without taking his eyes off his console. "Their shield signatures are unlike anything we've seen before, Captain. Energy readings are off the charts, but they're maintaining diplomatic protocols." The mission was straightforward: establish peaceful contact with the Voidborn Empire, a species that had recently emerged at the edges of human space. Intelligence suggested they were centuries ahead of humanity in technological development, but their intentions remained unclear. "Opening hailing frequencies," Communications Officer Raj Patel announced. His fingers danced across the holographic interface, establishing the connection that would bridge two civilizations. The main viewscreen flickered to life, revealing a being that made several bridge officers catch their breath. The Voidborn Ambassador, designation Nexus Prime, appeared as a shifting mass of crystalline structures arranged in a vaguely humanoid form. Its voice, when it came, resonated through the ship's speakers with an otherworldly harmony. "Greetings, vessels of Earth. We accept your diplomatic overture." Alina stepped forward, reciting the carefully prepared greeting. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, we extend our hands in friendship and look forward to peaceful dialogue between our peoples." What happened next would forever change the course of human history. The Voidborn ship's energy signature suddenly spiked. Warning alarms blared across the Thunderbolt's bridge as multiple weapon systems locked onto them. "It's a trap," Harrison shouted, his fingers already moving to raise shields. "They're powering up weapons." Alina's training kicked in instantly. "Evasive maneuvers, get us out of here now." The Thunderbolt lurched as Lieutenant Diana Wung, their pilot, executed a series of emergency maneuvers. The Voidborn vessel fired, its crystalline weapon systems releasing streams of energy that warped the very space around them. "Direct hit to decks 3 through 5, Chief Engineer Marcus O'Reilly reported through the comm system. "Their weapons are phasing through our shields like they're not even there." Alina's mind raced through their options. The Thunderbolt was one of Earth's most advanced ships, but they were clearly outmatched. Their weapons might as well have been slingshots against the Voidborn's technology. "Transfer all available power to engines," she ordered. "We need to warn Earth." As they attempted to retreat, 3 more Voidborn ships emerged from what appeared to be tiers in space itself. The Thunderbolt shuddered under another barrage of attacks. "Hull integrity at 47%, Harrison reported. "We can't take much more of this." Then something extraordinary happened. A direct hit to their quantum core created an unexpected reaction. The ship's experimental quantum drive began to resonate with the Voidborn weapons in a way that shouldn't have been possible. "Captain," O'Reilly's voice came through filled with excitement despite their dire situation. "The quantum core is doing something incredible. Their weapons aren't just passing through our shields, they're teaching us how they work." Alina made a decision that would later be studied in every military academy on Earth. "O'Reilly, can you record this energy signature?" "Already on it, Captain. Our quantum core is adapting, learning. This is revolutionary." "Helm, plot us a course through that debris field," Alina ordered, pointing to a dense collection of asteroids. "We're going to give them something to remember us by." The Thunderbolt dove into the asteroid field, its smaller size allowing it to maneuver where the larger Voidborn ships couldn't follow easily. With each hit they took, their quantum core learned more about the enemy's technology. "Transfer all sensor data to the secure black box," Alina commanded. "If we don't make it back, Earth needs to know what we've discovered." The next few minutes were chaos as Diana expertly piloted them through the asteroid field, using the natural cover to avoid the worst of the Voidborn attacks. When they emerged on the other side, The quantum core had collected terabytes of data about the enemy's phase technology. "Emergency jump coordinates locked in," Diana announced. "Get us out of here," Elena ordered, and the Thunderbolt disappeared into FTL space, leaving behind 4 very frustrated Voidborn vessels. Hours later, as they limped back toward Earth space, Elena stood in engineering, studying the quantum core readings with O'Reilly. "It's not just weapons data we've gathered," O'Reilly explained, his eyes bright with scientific excitement. "Their entire technological approach, it's based on quantum phase manipulation. They don't just fire energy weapons, they shift matter and energy between quantum states. That's why our shields were useless." Elena understood the implications immediately, and our quantum core recorded all of it. "Better than that," O'Reilly grinned. "It started adapting. Give me 6 months with this data and I might be able to replicate their technology. Give me a year and I might be able to improve on it." As Elena looked at the data scrolling across the screens, she knew that this disastrous first contact had given humanity something invaluable, a fighting chance. The Voidborn had revealed their hand, thinking humanity too primitive to understand what they were seeing. They had no idea that their act of aggression had just armed their intended victims with the knowledge needed to fight back. "Send a priority message to Earth Command," Elena ordered. Tell them we found our sword and shield." The Thunderbolt continued its journey home, carrying within its damaged hull the seeds of humanity's salvation. The Voidborn Empire had intended this day to mark the beginning of humanity's subjugation. Instead, they had inadvertently set in motion events that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that humans had a particular talent for turning their enemies' strengths against them. And Captain Elena Blackwood, along with her crew, had just given humanity the tools it needed to prove that point on a galactic scale. Admiral Jackson stood before the gathered scientists and military leaders in Earth's most secure facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The holographic display behind him showed the devastating footage from the UES Thunderbolt's encounter with the Voidborn Empire. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his weathered face grave, "what you're about to see will determine the future of our species." Dr. Mei Zhang, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stepped forward. Her hands moved through the holographic interface with practiced ease, bringing up the data collected by the Thunderbolt's quantum core. "The Voidborn's technology isn't just advanced," she explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "It's revolutionary. They've mastered quantum phase manipulation at a scale we thought impossible, but thanks to Captain Blackwood's crew, we now understand how they do it." The hologram shifted to show complex equations and energy patterns. "Their weapons don't just fire energy, they temporarily shift matter into alternate quantum states. That's why conventional shields are useless against them. But our quantum core did something unprecedented. It learned." In the audience, Captain Blackwood watched intently. The Thunderbolt was still undergoing repairs, but the data they'd brought back had sparked a frenzy of research and development. Dr. Zhang continued, "We're calling it Project Phoenix. Using the adaptive properties we discovered in our quantum core technology, we can not only replicate their phase-shifting capabilities but potentially improve upon them." Admiral Jackson interrupted, "How long until we have a working prototype?" 3 months, Dr. Zhang replied confidently. "But we'll need test pilots, people who understand both the tactical and technical aspects of what we're attempting." All eyes turned to Captain Blackwood. 6 weeks later, Elena stood in a massive hangar, staring at what appeared to be a standard Corvette-class vessel. Only it wasn't standard at all. The UES Phoenix, as they'd named it, represented humanity's greatest technological leap forward. "The outer hull is deliberately misleading," Marcus O'Reilly explained, now serving as the project's lead engineer. "We want the Voidborn to underestimate us, just like they did with the Thunderbolt." Elena walked around the ship, nodding its seemingly modest weapon emplacements and conventional design. "Talk me through the changes." "The entire ship is built around an advanced quantum core," Marcus explained, leading her inside. We've integrated phase shift technology into every system. The hull can shift partially out of phase, making it virtually invulnerable. Weapons can be fired through our own shields, but here's the real breakthrough. We can create localized phase disruptions in enemy ships. The bridge was a marvel of human engineering, with holographic displays and neural interface systems that would allow the crew to react at the speed of thought. "How many ships can we build?" Alina asked. "That's the catch," Marcus replied. "The quantum core technology requires rare materials and incredible precision. We can build exactly one ship with our current resources. The Phoenix is it, our one shot at turning the tide." Over the next 2 months, Alina and her hand-picked crew ran countless simulations and tests. The Phoenix exceeded all expectations, but the pressure of knowing they would be humanity's only advanced ship weighed heavily on them. Then the news came. Long-range sensors detected a massive void-borne fleet assembling at the edge of human space. Thousands of ships, clearly preparing for invasion. In an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council, Admiral Jackson laid out their options. Conventional forces would be suicide. The Phoenix is ready, but it's just one ship. Alina stepped forward. "One ship is all we need." The room fell silent as she continued. "The Voidborn think they know what human ships are capable of. They're expecting an easy conquest. We can use that against them." She pulled up tactical displays showing her plan. "The Phoenix can phase shift entire sections of space. If we time it right, we can trap their fleet in a cascade of quantum disruptions. They'll never expect it because they don't think we're capable of understanding their technology, let alone improving upon it." Dr. Zhang nodded in agreement. "The Phoenix's quantum core is more sophisticated than anything the Voidborn have. We took their basic principles and applied human creativity and innovation. We don't just imitate, we improve." Admiral Jackson studied the tactical projections. "The risk is enormous. If the Phoenix fails, Earth loses its only advanced ship." "If we don't try," Alina countered, "we lose everything anyway." The next week was a blur of final preparations. Alina's crew trained relentlessly, pushing the Phoenix to its limits in simulation after simulation. They had one advantage the Voidborn didn't. Desperation breeds innovation, and humans had proven throughout their history that they were at their most innovative when backed into a corner. The night before they were to deploy, Alina stood in the observation deck looking out at her ship. Lieutenant Harrison joined her. "Do you think they know what's coming?" he asked. Alina smiled grimly. "They think they're dealing with primitive humans who barely understand faster-than-light travel. They have no idea that we've taken their technology and transformed it into something they never imagined possible." "One ship against an armada," Harrison mused. "They'll think we're insane." "We are," Alina agreed. "But that's humanity's greatest strength. We see impossible odds as a challenge, not a deterrent." As she prepared for bed that night, Alina reviewed the mission parameters one final time. The Phoenix would have to traverse hostile territory, face an overwhelming enemy force, and execute a plan that existed only in theory. But she felt a strange calm. The Voidborn had made a crucial mistake. They had given humanity a glimpse of their technology, assuming humans were too primitive to understand it. Tomorrow, they would learn that humanity didn't just understand. They innovated, adapted, and improved. Tomorrow, they would learn why countless species throughout history had made the same fatal mistake, underestimating humanity's ability to turn disadvantage into opportunity. The Phoenix was more than just a ship. It was humanity's response to those who thought superior technology alone guaranteed victory. It was proof that sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the biggest fleet, but the one with the most ingenuity and determination. And tomorrow, the Voidborn Empire would learn that lesson the hard way. The vast emptiness of space above Europa was shattered by the arrival of the Voidborn invasion fleet. Their crystalline ships emerged from quantum rifts like shards of darkness against the starlit void, each vessel larger than the largest human dreadnought ever built. The fleet's arrival triggered every early warning system in the solar system, and humanity watched in collective dread as their worst fears materialized. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Jackson and the Earth Defense Council observed the tactical displays with grim expressions. The Voidborn fleet numbered over 3,000 ships, their formation spreading across space like a web of crystalline death. "They're being deliberate," Admiral Jackson noted, watching the methodical deployment. "They want us to see their strength to understand the futility of resistance." The holographic display showed the Voidborn fleet's primary vessel, a behemoth that dwarfed its escorts. Grand Admiral Nexus Ultima, the Voidborn Supreme Commander, clearly believed in making statements. A communication request flashed across all human frequencies. The council chamber fell silent as the transmission began. The crystalline form of Nexus Ultima materialized in their holographic projector, its voice resonating with artificial harmony. "People of Earth," the alien commander began, "your resistance is noted but ultimately irrelevant. The Voidborn Empire has determined that your species requires guidance. Submit, and you may serve. Resist, and you will be reduced to quantum particles scattered across your own solar system." Admiral Jackson stepped forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic light. "And if we choose neither option?" "There is no third choice, Primitive. You have 6 hours to surrender your world. After that, we will demonstrate the true meaning of superior evolution." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in tense silence. Dr. Zhang, who had been analyzing the enemy fleet's energy signatures, spoke first. "Their confidence is their weakness. They've made no attempt to mask their quantum signatures. They don't believe we can interpret them, let alone use them against them." In orbit around Mars, hidden within a sensor-masked dock, the UES Phoenix completed its final preparations. Captain Alina Blackwood stood on her bridge, watching her crew perform their last equipment checks. Every person aboard knew they were humanity's best hope, perhaps their only hope. "Engineering reports quantum core at optimal efficiency," Lieutenant Harrison reported from his tactical station. "All phase shift systems are synchronized." Alina nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the massive enemy fleet. "Status of Operation Lightbringer." Commander Diana Wang, now her executive officer, pulled up the relevant data. "Quantum buoys are in position, Captain. Once activated, they'll create the resonance field exactly as planned, though I still think this is the craziest strategy I've ever seen." "Crazy is what they're not expecting," Alina replied with a grim smile. "Status of the civilian evacuation." "Underground shelters are at 82% capacity," Diana reported. "The remaining population will be secured within the next 3 hours." Alina touched the command console, bringing up a secure channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Jackson, the Phoenix is ready. Request permission to execute Operation Lightbringer." The Admiral's voice came through clear and resolute. "Permission granted, Captain. Show them why it was a mistake to underestimate humanity." The next 2 hours were a blur of final preparations. The Phoenix's crew ran through their protocols one last time, each person understanding that their role could mean the difference between victory and extinction. In engineering, Marcus O'Reilly made final adjustments to the quantum core, pushing its capabilities to theoretical limits. "You know," he commented over the comm to Alina, "the Voidborn actually did us a favor with their attack on the Thunderbolt. They showed us what was possible, then assumed we were too primitive to do anything with that knowledge." Alina smiled. It was true. The Voidborn's greatest mistake had been assuming that technological superiority meant absolute superiority. They had never encountered a species like humanity before, one that could take a glimpse of advanced technology and not just understand it, but improve upon it in ways its original creators never imagined. As the deadline for surrender approached, Alina addressed her crew. "What we attempt today has never been done before. The Voidborn believe they understand quantum mechanics better than any species in the galaxy. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our ability to think beyond conventional limitations." The crew's response was a chorus of determined acknowledgments. They had trained for this moment, had pushed themselves and their ship beyond what anyone thought possible. They expect us to either surrender or throw our conventional fleet at them in desperation, Alina continued. Instead, they're going to learn why humanity has survived every crisis we've ever faced. We adapt, we innovate, and most importantly, we never ever give up. The tactical display showed the Voidborn fleet beginning to move into attack formation. Their confidence was evident in their leisurely pace and textbook deployment. They expected no meaningful resistance, no surprises from a supposedly primitive species. "All hands to battle stations," Alina commanded. The Phoenix's lights dimmed to combat settings as the crew took their positions. "Begin quantum core spin-up sequence. Prepare to execute Operation Lightbringer on my mark." As her crew made their final preparations, Alina thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that first disastrous contact with the Voidborn to the creation of the Phoenix, humanity had done what it did best, taken an impossible situation and found a way to turn it to their advantage. The Voidborn's ultimatum deadline approached its final minutes. On the tactical display, their massive fleet hung in space like an executioner's blade, ready to fall. But they had no idea that humanity had forged a blade of their own, one that would change the course of galactic history forever. "Send one final message to the Voidborn fleet," Alina ordered. "Tell them, humanity declines your generous offer. We prefer to teach rather than be taught." The trap was set. The crew was ready. And in the next few hours, the Voidborn Empire would learn a lesson that countless others had learned before them. Never corner a species that turns desperation into inspiration. The 6-hour deadline expired in silence. Across the vast Voidborn fleet, weapon systems powered up, crystalline hulls pulsing with deadly energy. Grand Admiral Nexus Ultima prepared to give the order that would begin humanity's subjugation. Then a single ship appeared. The UES Phoenix materialized directly in the heart of the Voidborn formation, its conventional appearance causing momentary confusion among the enemy commanders. A lone vessel, barely the size of their smallest cruiser, positioning itself in the middle of the largest invasion fleet ever assembled. "Grand Admiral," one of Nexus Ultima's subordinates reported, "the human vessel matches no known configuration in our database. However, its size and apparent capabilities suggest minimal threat." Nexus Ultima's crystalline form shifted in what passed for amusement among his kind. "Open a channel. Let us hear their final words before we begin their education in humility." On the Phoenix's bridge, Alina Blackwood stood calm and focused as the enemy's transmission came through. The massive form of Nexus Ultima filled their main view screen, his crystalline structure refracting light in patterns that were meant to be intimidating. "Your gesture is noted, human," the Voidborn commander's harmonic voice resonated through the bridge. "One ship against our armada. Is this meant to be symbolic?" Alina allowed herself a small smile. "Not symbolic, Admiral. Demonstrative. We're here to teach you something about humanity that you really should have researched before coming here." "And what lesson would that be?" "That quantity isn't quality, and technology is only as good as the imagination of those who wield it." Alina nodded to Harrison. "Begin Operation Lightbringer." Across the vast expanse of space surrounding the Voidborn fleet, hundreds of quantum buoys suddenly activated. Each one had been carefully positioned over the past weeks, their energy signatures masked by solar radiation and cosmic background noise. Now they came to life, creating an interlocking network of quantum fields. "What is this?" Nexus Ultima demanded, his harmonic voice showing the first traces of concern. "This," Alina replied, "is humanity showing you what we learned from our first encounter. Lieutenant Harrison, execute quantum cascade sequence." The Phoenix's quantum core spun up to full power, its advanced systems linking with the buoy network. The ship itself began to pulse with energy patterns that mirrored the Voidborn's own technology, but with crucial differences. "Impossible," Nexus Ultima's voice lost its artificial harmony. "You cannot have mastered quantum phase technology to this degree. Your species is too primitive." "That's the problem with assuming technological superiority equals absolute superiority," Alina responded, as the Phoenix began its carefully choreographed dance. You never consider that someone might take your technology and improve it. The Phoenix moved through the void-born fleet like a needle threading through fabric, each position precisely calculated. As it moved, it left behind invisible quantum anchors, linking ships together in a complex web of phase-shifted space. "All ships open fire," Nexus Ultima commanded. Thousands of crystalline weapons discharged simultaneously, filling space with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. But the Phoenix wasn't where any of those shots landed. The ship phased in and out of normal space, its movements guided by both human intuition and quantum mathematics. Each failed attack only served to add energy to the growing quantum web. In engineering, Marcus O'Reilly watched the energy readings with fierce concentration. "Quantum web at 60% saturation, Captain. The math was right. They're actually helping us by attacking." Elena nodded. "Begin phase 2. Let's show them what human innovation looks like." The Phoenix suddenly stopped its evasive pattern and positioned itself at a seemingly random point in space. To the Voidborn, it appeared as if the human ship had finally made a tactical error. "Your ship's capabilities are impressive," Nexus Ultima admitted, "but ultimately futile. You cannot defeat an entire fleet alone." "Actually," Elena replied, "we already have, you just don't know it yet. Execute final sequence." The Phoenix's quantum core pulsed once, releasing a cascade of energy that rippled through the quantum web they'd created. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Every Voidborn ship caught in the web suddenly found their quantum-based technology turning against them. Crystalline hulls began to phase in and out of normal space uncontrollably. Weapon systems fired into their own ships as quantum fields collapsed and reformed chaotically. The very technology that made the Voidborn seemingly invincible became their greatest vulnerability. "What have you done?" Nexus Ultima demanded, his flagship systems starting to fail around him. "We took your quantum phase technology and added a human perspective," Elena explained. "You shift individual ships between quantum states. We figured out how to create a quantum resonance field that affects everything within it. Right now, every ship in your fleet is experiencing cascading quantum failure. The more you try to use your technology, the worse it gets." The Voidborn fleet, pride of an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds, was being undone by the very principles they had mastered centuries ago. But they had never imagined those principles could be weaponized on this scale, had never conceived that a primitive species could comprehend their technology well enough to turn it against them. "Quantum cascade reaching critical threshold," Harrison reported. "Fleet-wide systems failure in 3, 2, 1. Across the battlefield, Voidborn ships began powering down, their quantum cores forcibly reset by the cascading field. The mighty armada that had threatened Earth hung dormant in space, their supposedly superior technology rendered useless by human ingenuity. Elena opened a channel to the entire enemy fleet. "This is Captain Elena Blackwood of the UES Phoenix. Your ships will remain powered down for approximately 12 hours. In that time, you have two choices: leave Earth space and never return, or stay and learn what else humanity has done with your technology. The choice is yours." She closed the channel and turned to her crew. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them Operation Lightbringer was a success. The Voidborn fleet has been neutralized." As cheers erupted across the bridge, Elena looked out at the powerless enemy armada. One ship had indeed been enough, not because of superior firepower or overwhelming force, but because humanity had done what it did best, taken an adversary's strength and turned it into a weakness. The Voidborn had come expecting to find primitive humans cowering before their advanced technology. Instead, they had learned why humanity had survived every crisis it had ever faced. It wasn't just about the technology you had, it was about how creatively you could use it. 3 months after Operation Lightbringer, the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with unprecedented activity. Representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations gathered to witness something none had expected: the formal recognition of humanity as a major galactic power. Captain Alina Blackwood stood before the assembled delegates, her dress uniform adorned with the newly created Phoenix Medal, humanity's highest honor for innovation in defense of Earth. Beside her, Admiral Jackson and Dr. Zhang represented Earth's military and scientific communities. The Concordat's chief arbiter, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate environmental suit, addressed the chamber. "We are here to formally document the most significant shift in galactic power dynamics since the formation of this council. The defeat of the Voidborn Empire's main fleet by a single human vessel has forced us to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about technological advancement." In the gallery, various alien delegates whispered among themselves. The story had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. How humanity had not just defeated but thoroughly humbled the Voidborn Empire, turning their own quantum technology against them in ways that should have been impossible for a primitive species. The Voidborn representative, no longer the imperious Nexus Ultima but a more diplomatic successor named Nexus Pacificus, rose to speak. "The Empire acknowledges its miscalculation regarding humanity. What we perceived as technological inferiority was in fact a different kind of advancement. While we focused on perfecting existing principles, humans demonstrated an uncanny ability to reconceptualize those principles entirely." Alina thought back to the aftermath of the battle, when the Voidborn fleet had made its choice. Rather than risk further humiliation, they had withdrawn from Earth space, but not before witnessing demonstrations of other human innovations. The Phoenix's quantum resonance technology had been just the beginning. "In light of these events," the chief arbiter continued, "the Concordat recognizes Earth as a protected innovation zone. No military action may be taken against human space without risking the combined response of all Concordat members." Admiral Jackson stepped forward to address the chamber. "Humanity doesn't seek dominion or empire. What we do seek is the right to develop in our own way, at our own pace. The Phoenix proved that technological advancement isn't just about who has the biggest ships or the most powerful weapons. It's about how you think about using what you have." In the months since the battle, humanity's approach to quantum physics had revolutionized several fields. Dr. Zhang's team had already developed medical applications for phase shift technology, while Marcus O'Reilly's innovations in quantum core design were reshaping the fundamentals of space travel. Furthermore, the chief arbiter announced, the Concordat has accepted humanity's proposal for the Quantum Technology Exchange Initiative. This unprecedented program will allow civilizations to share innovations while maintaining their unique developmental paths. Alina couldn't help but smile at the irony. The Voidborn had intended to subjugate humanity, believing their technological superiority made conquest inevitable. Instead, they had inadvertently triggered a renaissance in human innovation that was now benefiting the entire galaxy. After the ceremony, Alina found herself in one of the Concordat station's observation lounges, watching ships from dozens of civilizations navigate the bustling space lanes. Dr. Zhang joined her, carrying 2 glasses of Earth's finest champagne. "Not bad for a primitive species," the scientist mused, handing Alina a glass. "They all made the same mistake," Alina replied. "They looked at our level of technology rather than our capacity for innovation. The Voidborn gave us one look at their quantum phase technology, and within months we had completely reimagined its applications." "That's what makes humans different," Dr. Zhang agreed. "We don't just copy, we transform. The Phoenix wasn't powerful because it copied Voidborn technology. It was powerful because it represented a completely new way of thinking about quantum mechanics." A notification chimed on Alina's communicator. The Phoenix was ready for its next mission. The ship had become a symbol of human ingenuity throughout the galaxy, and its continued journeys of exploration and innovation were eagerly followed by species who had once dismissed humanity as barely worth noticing. As Alina prepared to leave the observation lounge, she noticed a group of young alien delegates studying her with obvious curiosity. One of them, showing more courage than their companions, approached her. "Captain Blackwood," the young delegate said, their translator struggling to convey their excitement. Is it true that humans are already developing new applications for quantum technology that even the Voidborn never considered? Alina smiled. The Phoenix was just the beginning. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our ability to look at something and see not what it is, but what it could be. One ship was all we needed not because of its power, but because it represented a fundamentally new way of thinking. Later, as the Phoenix prepared to depart the Concordat station, Alina stood on her bridge and looked at her crew. They had changed the galaxy not through overwhelming force or technological superiority, but through the uniquely human traits of innovation, adaptability, and the absolute refusal to accept impossible odds. "Where to, Captain?" Lieutenant Harrison asked from his station. Alina looked at the star chart, now filled with new possibilities and opportunities. "Everywhere, Lieutenant. After all, we've got a galaxy full of new friends who are finally ready to see what humanity can really do." The Phoenix engaged its quantum drive, its energy signature now a template being studied by civilizations across the galaxy. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by dominating others, but by showing that true advancement comes not from the technology you possess, but from how you choose to reimagine its possibilities.